All right. Welcome to another edition of Vegas Badboyz, a podcasting. It's your boy DJ Impact here, and I got the Vegas Badboyz here with me. It's good to see you guys, and we're here for three count. We got three good topics here for you, and as everyone is jumping in on our Facebook chat, yeah, go ahead, leave your comment, and we'll try to get it in as we see fit. We thank you for hanging out with us. And so let's have a little fun. Let's get to our first topic. And this one, which is pretty interesting, is from Yahoo Finance. And it is titled, "The Pro Wrestling Business is Heating Up to Levels Not Seen in 20 Years. Will it last?" Just going to read a little bit of this here for you. It says that professional wrestling landscape is really heating up. And over the weekend, World Wrestling Entertainment SummerSlam was reportedly the highest grossing and most viewed SummerSlam in the event's 34-year history. And on Friday, the return of CM Punk after a 7-year absence from pro wrestling boosted All Elite Wrestling Rampage TV wrestling by 52.5%. And Pro Wrestling Tees announced Punk's new shirt is already the highest selling design in its history. And in a recent interview, WWE President and Chief Revenue Officer Nick Khan said WWE is also in the process of refreshing its NXT brand. In the next couple of weeks, which I guess will be this week, is going to have a whole new look and it's going to have a whole new feel. New wrestling boom. The recent success of professional wrestling has some fans speculating that the industry could be on the verge of another boom period of popularity, similar to the one it experienced during the Hulkamania days of the 1980s and so-called Monday Night Wars in the late 90s and early 2000s. He mentions that Eric Bischoff, who was the president of World Championship Wrestling during the 1990s, said on a recent podcast, and it's an exciting time in the industry. It's been a long time since there's been across the board buzz about an industry and in general, and I'm really happy for AEW in particular, Tony Khan and the wrestling fans all over the country. The last thing I mentioned is that in Meltzer's observations is that the competition between WWE and AEW is very similar to the Monday Night Wars between WWE and WCW during the previous wrestling boom, according to Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer newsletter. Wrestling hasn't had a strong number 2 promotion at this level since WCW started falling apart in 1999. And for overall health economically, the industry has never been stronger. It has 2 shows in the top 5 on cable for the week this past week and 2 weeks earlier for the first time since 1999, Meltzer had mentioned. He also says that for now, the key differences between WWE and AEW brands is that they could potentially fuel their rivalry between the 2 companies. He said that WWE is still heavily reliant upon older part-time performers. For example, part-time wrestlers and full-time actor John Cena competing in the main event of SummerSlam, while the return of part-timer Brock Lesnar closed the show. And then WWE is still more popular, but AEW is growing tremendously and skews younger and has more members of families watching together, features younger performers, and has more athletic style. And WWE has a huge advantage over the 50 audience and traditional audience, plus has a stronger and more established television platform. And then he goes a little bit over what he believes some of the troubling signs for WWE. But let's now get to the question he asked, and we'll just kick it right off to you, Simon Street. Again, he asked, and he goes all over this. He says the pro wrestling business right now, it is looking good to levels we haven't seen in 20 years. But he asked, will it last? What's your take?
Pretty much. I mean, a lot of it kind of does make sense. I mean, think about it. Whenever, and I think we've talked about it before, when you have another option to watch as far as wrestling, it tends to, make WWE in some cases kind of change some things. Not that they really need to, but, it's more for people to watch. So therefore, you're going to have more eyes on the product versus when you just have one major singularly, large WWE that you're watching. So it makes sense. As far as some of the things you said with regards to CM Punk shirts selling and stuff, that's normal. I mean, but the proof is in the pudding down the road. What will be 6 months from now after all the hype, after all the name acquisitions? Will it still be the same? I don't know.
Interesting. Okay. I'll jump this over to you, Sin City. He's talking about just how the success that wrestling has been happening now for at least for the past 20 years. And, I will say I do take some issue to what Meltzer had mentioned. But I'm going to save that. I'll mention that to you a little later. Let me just get your first thoughts on this. What's your take on? Do you think it will last, this business that's been heating up that's not been seen in 20 years?
Well, I think that something that's really important that we all keep in mind is that wrestling and the professional wrestling business itself is a very cyclical thing. So we're just on the upswing. Granted, it wouldn't have happened without there being a solid number two, as Meltzer had mentioned, but keep in mind, there have to be fans that are at least receptive to a number two and to a secondary promotion other than WWE. So we'll see. I think that there still needs to be a little bit more stuff to happen for this to even really be a major conversation. It's easy for us to sit here and say, oh yeah, we're in Attitude Era point, 2.0 or whatever. Yeah. Realistically, it's not even close to being on that level yet. Do we want it to be to that level? Of course we do. Anybody that is a pro wrestling fan, I'd say 95% of them looks back at the Attitude Era with some shred of fondness, as if it were a major golden age for the sport, which it definitely was, in my opinion. But the fact is, we are not there yet. Just because AEW is showing signs of life that we haven't seen out of another company besides, WWE being number one in 20 years, it's a little bit jumping the gun. But I think that within the next couple of years, could we revisit this and have the same conversation? Without a doubt.
Okay. Let me just straight up question you, same one, Michaels. Do you think it will last, this uptick in wrestling that hasn't been seen in 20 years?
It will last for a couple of years and then it'll go back on its downtick. That's what wrestling does. I mean, this is why it's kind of a stupid thing, especially for Meltzer. You do realize Meltzer had on Tony Khan. So when he had on his boss, he's got to say shit like this.
Well, this is the problem that gets me upset. So he goes, he says WWE is still heavily relying upon older part-time performers. Then he jumps over and then says WWE is still more popular, but AEW is growing tremendously and skews younger and has more members of families watching together and feature young performers and have more athletic style. So you're just going to shit on WWE, as if that's all they rely on is just part-timers and full-timers. But on the AEW side, it's just all about lifting the new talent, and families watch that. Go ahead.
Yeah, let's just start with that first part of what you said.
Yeah.
And that is older talent. Chris Jericho, 50. Christian, 47. Matt Hardy, 47. CM Punk, 44. Bryan Danielson, if he comes in, he's in his 40s.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly. So, and by the way, why the comparison is even being made is because WCW hired all these guys from WWE back in the early 90s. If WCW didn't get Hall and Nash in there, and if this idea of the outsiders and the NWO doesn't hit, WCW is out of business by the end of 97. So you could have a trajectory of bringing in talent. The question is, what do you do? And the way Meltzer's trying to put this over is they're building so much young talent that families are getting involved into that. But I mean, again, it's like if you look at the talent that they have that is younger talent, you're starting to see this where, you know, it's just you took your younger guys. I think in this article, was there something mentioned about Sonny Kiss as a name, or was that in another one of the 3 count? That might be a 3 count here. But
let's see here,
because there were some names that were given, and I don't remember if that was on the.
Yeah, it's definitely not on this one. I mean, he named some of the old school wrestlers towards the end, but not.
Yeah. So
yeah,
but that's an example. It's like when you think about what they're trying to do, and then you're going to bring quick eyes to the product by the way, using the guys who were developed on WWE television. And you should. If it doesn't, then you're definitely doing something wrong, right?
Right.
These are people that are name recognized. But the downside to that is, again, when you have your younger talent and everyone always now is bitching about WWE letting people go, the truth of the matter is that when AEW has to start doing the same thing because people are getting pissed that they're not getting, TV time, then it becomes a little something different. And I think the biggest factor here too is we're talking about ratings as if television will be the same thing in the next 10 years. And really, I think what it's going to come down to is you're going to see a lot of it being, really reliant on networks that stream. And, it's going to be a different way of looking at how successful things are. The one thing that floors me, though, is we're talking about ratings, yet, again, the actual pay-per-view buy rates, you never see Meltzer reporting that, to like, hey, this is good stuff, right?
Right.
So that in itself, I think, shows that even though pay-per-views are being watched, they're not being paid for, essentially. And there's also the questions of, is Tony Khan buying up tickets that are not selling? And the other thing you got to look at is people buying tickets for AEW shows, especially in the Chicago show. Majority of that stuff was secondhand ticket sales that were, eating up the tickets. If you went and you looked at Ticketmaster, the stuff that was available, and there were a lot of seats available come day of, they were all through second, resale tickets.
Mm-hmm.
So even though they're selling tickets, you still have to fill the seats. And that's the thing is, hopefully they're not missing out that key factor of, hey, if the secondary market's buying it, that's great because they're making their front money. But if that secondary market is not able to sell them, you're going to start seeing that start disappearing, and then you're going to have a harder time selling stuff. So I just
in this
trust
article,
what he says.
Yeah, in the article it says it's hard to separate the pent-up demand effect from the return to touring, benefiting both ticket sales and TV ratings from a secular increase in interest in wrestling. And while it may be exciting time for pro wrestling as a whole, the belief that the industry may not have the star power it did during the previous boom eras, which included stars like Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage and Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock, WWE has Roman Reigns and the number of mostly older part-timers who occasionally visit their programming. But who's the new star that either WWE or AEW will create who would drive more than just short-term spikes in its entrance? And that's not clear. So, it's interesting to see where it's going to go.
Can I add something real quick? Is that okay?
Sure. Yeah.
I wanted to kind of add on to what Michaels was saying of what the product may look like 10 years or what TV in general will look like in 10 years. The one thing that you're going to see a lot of happening, and this is just my theory, is, how you're looking at social media, whether it's Facebook or you're looking at Instagram. I think Twitter now is going to start doing it. I'm not sure if they already have, but these reels. So basically, essentially what that is as you're scrolling through whatever your feed is, for those that don't know, you have these reels, which are shorts, and they can last anywhere from 10 minutes to 30 minutes. You're going to see, I believe, a lot of pro wrestling utilizing those in, let's say for AEW as an example, having a dark match that's on a reel, because you have more opportunity for you to kind of showcase your product, even in possibly get new eyes on the product, or someone that may, I'm sure there's some kind of calculation they do or whatever, to where if I constantly watch nothing but AEW, that's going to show up more often. So that's another way too. But you're going to see a lot of that in the next 10 years, to where social media is going to be a backbone for that in between.
Got you. And let me just shout out here, John, one of the things he wrote, he says, one thing about WWE, like most successful, long-lasting businesses, is that they're forward-thinking. Take the network, for example. No more monthly $50 pay-per-views. Genius. Brands like WCW were successful because they were focused on the now, not the long term. Yeah. So, right. So,
and
good stuff. Go ahead, man.
One of the other things along that note too, and it's interesting, is that Meltzer likes to rag on TNA, but if you compare what has been done numbers wise, AEW is basically bringing in the same numbers that TNA was during its biggest push. Mm-hmm. And what is the thing that those two things have in common? TNA was getting that push by bringing in name guys who were released from WWE. So I think that the factor question that just gets missed here is how valuable the WWE branding of these guys is for them then to be able to bring a rub to another company.
Yeah. Gotcha. All right, cool. Did you want to add one more thing, Sin City, or are you good?
I was just going to mention, obviously the ratings are what they are. That's pretty much the current barometer that everybody's using to describe how everything's going. Obviously, in this article, it mentions the fact that AEW's audience tends to slope younger. WWE has a stronghold on the 50+ audience. One thing to really, really keep in mind is what we're seeing is a lot of people that are in that 50+ bracket. They were our age, younger, when Attitude Era was going on. So it's one of those things that they built a fan base for life. And Michaels, you're giving me a puzzling kind of a look. What's going on?
No. I was just thinking, if you said they were our age while that was going on, that means they're 70 now.
Oh, well.
I was just trying to see what you were saying, but I get what you're saying.
I was just implying, your average 30-year-old, your 30-year-old wrestling fan, take it 20, 25 years, you're in that 50+ age bracket. So it's one of those things that WWE, whether they, and they've been extremely smart with how they've merchandised it and how they've monetized it, but they've built a fan base that they're ensuring comes back to their product going forward. I don't want to say relying on, past glory from that period, but what they did was they took that era and immortalized it so that people that were fans of the product during that time will always come back to the product in some varying degree. And where's the first place that they're going to go? It's going to be WWE. It's not going to be AEW, at least for the foreseeable future, because AEW hasn't been around for 5 years yet. They haven't been around for anything more than a cup of coffee in the big time, if you will. So it's one of those things that, WWE has that name recognition. They are the gold standard for professional wrestling companies. John made a great point in the chat that I'm trying to find. He says WWE will always be number one because the company is first association to pro wrestling, much like UFC is the sport of mixed martial arts. Bellator appeals to a younger audience, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
Spot on, 100%. Do I think that when the tide comes in that all boats rise? Yes, I certainly do. Are we in that time period right now? Realistically, we won't know for at least another 6 months to a year.
And bringing along those points, Steve, which I think is this is something that, even though it's said, I don't think people are really comprehending this idea as of yet. When Vince McMahon dies, the numbers for WWE is going to go through the fucking roof, because everybody is going to be checking out the product.
Yep.
And so that's where you're going to see a lot of, what is traditionally thought of what the WWE is. And you're already seeing with, what apparently is going to be transitioning with NXT. You're seeing them take the opportunities to start trying things. And I think that's because
it's going to be the testing ground.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And the article did say that even though the numbers for AEW have skewered younger, and they've had that, it did say that they're starting to get WWE starting to get the younger viewer. So it's interesting, because I think what kind of along those lines, Steve, too, what you said, I think guys like Meltzer, what they're trying to do is they're, again, trying to start a war. But the thing is, they're trying to start the war because that's what they enjoyed. That's what they thought was big. In a case of Meltzer, that's what made him money. So
keeping it real. All right. Thank you guys so much for that. Let's go to our second count. And this is from ProWrestlingNewsHub.com. They question title that says, are Wyatt, Strowman, and Murphy all going to Impact Wrestling? Let's read a little bit of this here. Murphy to Impact? Well, former WWE wrestler Buddy Murphy, was now going by the name Buddy Matthews, may be appearing on Impact soon. According to webisjericho.com, Scott D'Amore stated as much on a Twitch stream. The Twitch account and video belong to wrestler and wife to X Division champion Josh Alexander, Jade Chung. In the video, D'Amore is seen in a jovial mood at a recent Toronto Blue Jays game, and he's asked George Iceman, who's seated beside him in the video, to announce the arrival of Buddy Murphy Matthews to Impact. Iceman, of course, declines to announce that and specifically stated that he wasn't yet allowed to make such an announcement. Okay. Braun Strowman to Impact, and then perhaps an even more shocking announcement by Scott D'Amore on the same video. He refers to the upcoming Impact Bound for Glory event as Braun for Glory. The event is headed to us in October 23rd, to be exact, and that is also the time in which Strowman's 90-day no-compete clause will be coming to an end, or thereabouts, since his release in June. He already announced that he'll be wrestling in Qatar. As we reported as well, and that event will be February 26, 2022, and that event is called Super Slam 3. He has teased on social media that many promotions were vying for him a while back. It was also reported that WWE wanted him back but wanted to pay him less, and many were speculating an AEW debut, but it seems as though Impact might be on Strowman's horizon after all. And the last one here is, what about The Fiend? And in an event, even more shocking development, it seems like Impact is seriously interested in signing Bray Wyatt, according to report at WrestlingNews.co. The previous rumor was that Wyatt would be going to AEW, and the Wrestling Observer Dave Meltzer was almost positive of this. But as was recently stated by Brian Alvarez, Meltzer's business partner, that seemed unlikely. According to contacts he has in AEW, he stated as much. What I think I can safely say is I do not believe it is a guarantee that Bray Wyatt is going to AEW. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. To me, this is not like CM Punk, where CM Punk was going to AEW, and I'm like 99.9999% sure that Bryan Danielson is going to AEW. I would not say anything resembling that for Bray Wyatt. I'm not saying it's going to happen. Maybe it will, but I would put it much less than 99.9999% at this point. And then on a recent episode of Sunday Night's Main Event, when asked about Wyatt's future, Dave Meltzer himself stated that he's heard different things. And I know Impact is really after him. From what I understand, there's certainly high people in places that are on the belief that he is coming.
And
how they fit it.
I thought you finished. Never mind. My bad.
Thank you. Just to finish it up, it says that despite the fact that Impact struggles with ratings and their shows aren't as jam-packed with fans like other promotions, it doesn't mean they don't have money. Anthem Sports and Entertainment, who own Impact, definitely have money indeed. And it looks like they may be willing to spend some of it moving forward. And if these rumors are in fact true, comedian Steve Harvey is the investor since they acquired Access TV. And according to Wikipedia, he also has a strategic agreement with the company in content development and promotion. So it'll be interesting to see where all these men will end up. I thought this was a fun article, but teasing the idea that I may get 3 guys I like on the show that I like. But
yeah, and you're also getting creative decisions through Steve Harvey, according to Wikipedia.
And sometimes he gets things wrong.
All right, let's just jump right into it.
Can I
go ahead?
Can I tackle just one thing, and I'll leave it and I'll let y'all have it. All right. So only reason I wanted to bring it up real quick is because John in the chat had mentioned Funko is releasing a Fiend doll as part of its newest lineup. Maybe we're all being swerved with Bray. And the reason why I want to take that statement, I thought about it as I was while we were at SummerSlam, and I saw so many people with different Fiend outfits, and they were still sharing. They're still selling Fiend shirts, which they normally do. But something popped in my head, and I was thinking, like, I have a feeling like maybe Bray Wyatt namesake is being done, but Fiend is still there. I know it might be a long shot, but that's one thing that I would say with regards to this whole conversation of Bray Wyatt in any type of form going to Impact. I think for the other 2 guys, I think it'd be a great opportunity for them, because if you look at some of the other things that's going on right now, AEW is just saturated with different people who've come back from WWE or have been let go from WWE. So for them, they would have to kind of go, and I'm sure Braun Strowman would be okay, but like I said, it would still be something. But imagine if Braun Strowman is to be an Impact. He's going to be spotlighted 120%. No offense to Impact. The number one problem that they have is the fact that they're on Access. And most people I talk to just cannot get access to watch it or know how to watch it. But him being there, number one spotlight, it'll be amazing. Enough said.
Matt Michaels. All right. Impact, Access, Anthem, whatever. They have a lot of money. What's your take on them going after these 3 or these 3 coming over to Impact? What do you think?
So first, let me go off of your theory, Simon, and let me say that one of the things while listening to this that hit me was, because I've said, Bray might be gone, but the Fiend might not be. Then it hit me. What if Bray's not the Fiend? What if you have another guy that can do the Fiend character, but
like people playing multiple Kanes?
Well, multiple Kanes or fake Razor and fake Diesel or whatever. They own the character. And the character in this case, as long as you have someone who can execute wrestling well and has a fairly decent body type that resembles Bray's, technically it's like someone taking over for a superhero in a superhero movie. So that's it's outside the box, but it's a thought. Or Doink, yeah. The problem that we didn't get to see a little person Fiend, and that's what I want to see. So
but doesn't WWE always end up doing that with anything like that? There's always going to be a smaller version.
Was hoping, but we haven't seen it yet. So the next thought that hit me, outside the fact is, who the fuck cares where Buddy Murphy ends up? That's not money. Go fuck off.
That's why I didn't mention him.
Whatever. I don't think Buddy Murphy's that bad, but that's fine. Whatever.
Impact.
He's really good in New Japan.
He's going to be
really good in New Japan.
he's going to be great in Impact. He will.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
If he goes to Impact, great. But again, that's another guy filling a spot, just filling a spot. The bigger question is this: what if they sign with AEW, show up on the Impact pay-per-view as if they've signed with Impact, and then swerve it that night, and they end up with AEW? Because you still got the working relationship, and wouldn't it be a screw job if Callis, in the end, raised the arm of the new Impact champion, who's Braun Strowman, who's with AEW?
That would be perfect, because I know that would piss off Impact, and we would be hearing for that for the next month.
Oh, he would have ammo for voices in my head for a year.
Fuck
yes, yes. I just released one this past weekend. Go check it out if you haven't got a chance to hear it yet.
But in all reality, it's speculation until it goes through. And the again, it seems like it's always Dave Meltzer, just the one spouting shit off, and he's become very good over the years at some of the stuff sticks, some of it doesn't. He's 50-50. And yet people still believe this guy is a journalist. So
let me move over to you, City. Before I do that, it was funny because Chris had mentioned when we were talking about Buddy, he said, Mysterio's daughter might want to know.
She's off TV because she got pregnant. What about that angle we haven't heard about yet?
Oh my God.
Jesus.
All right, Sin City.
I really thought you were serious.
What's your take, Sin City, on the possibility of Impact getting 1, 2, or all 3 of these men? Apparently, Anthem's got that money and ready to spend it. What you think?
So here's the thing is, ironically enough, Michaels, you and I are on the exact same wavelength. I don't think that it would happen for all 3 of them, though. I think that it would just be for Braun. I could see Braun being, showing up at an Impact pay-per-view, winning the championship. You were spot on with exactly what I was going to say. So, hell yeah. And then Buddy Murphy, Matthews, whatever, he will be a great addition to that X division. That's the best fit for him. The best fit for him is not AEW. It is Impact Wrestling. And quite frankly, the best fit for Bray Wyatt is also in Impact. Obviously I've been a fan of Bray, since he had the cult leader gimmick. Wasn't too big into, his work as Husky Harris, but, when he was in NXT as the cult leader, I was bought in 100%, and I still am to this day. I personally think that anything that he touches turns to gold. But the best home for him is going to be an Impact. If for no other reason than we've discussed it in the past here. Impact has run spirituality or occult type angles in the past. So much so where they've had members of belonging to an undead realm. So of course, yes, put Bray Wyatt in there. Whatever he's going to go as, if it's going to be Wyndham, whatever. I remembered seeing something kind of randomly spouted out on social media where they were saying that he could even show up as Bray Wyndham, which whatever. I think that that's kind of stepping a little bit too much into the WWE, the WWE pre-made character for him. But right. I think that he would definitely flourish in Impact. Braun, if for no other reason than he would absolutely be right at home being managed by Callis. But again, obviously you've got Kenny Omega there, and Kenny, you've got a built-in kind of a feud that could fester from that as a result. But yeah, I think that regardless, it's going to be a very interesting time to see where these guys show up. and how soon they show up as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, as vice president of Impact Wrestling, Anthem, I welcome you over, and I'll be very happy to have all three of you over into the show. Welcome, come on through. All right, there we go. Vice President.
But since they got all this money, can we open up that access? That's all I'm gonna say. Open up the access with all that money you
spend
got.
the $7 a month, get Impact Plus, bro.
There you go. Come on.
It's not dumb, bro. And if you got access on your cable, it would be costing you $7 extra a month anyway. So come on,
There you
dude.
go.
I spend the extra $7 on the really, really, really expensive toilet paper.
Oh, Jesus.
Leave it at that.
All right, let me go to the. Wow, you really think Impact is shit? All right, well, okay, we'll talk about that later. Let's go over to our third account from WrestlingNews.co. Is this guy name? Is it Alistair or Alistair? How does he pronounce his first name? Alistair. Okay, I thought so. Okay, so Alistair Overeem says that pro wrestling is lame and bad acting, and claims Brock Lesnar's UFC success was because of PEDs or PEDs, whatever. Let's read about it here. It says Alistair Overeem spoke with Ariel Helwani on today's The MMA Hour, and during it, he took some shot to pro wrestling, CM Punk, and Brock Lesnar. And he says this: it's lame. It's not even a sport. It's lame. It's bad acting. It's just lame. Sorry to all the fans of WWE. Damn, that includes all of us. Oh, let me include them. Keep quoting. It says, I'm just being honest. I'm giving my opinion. Free country, right? I think it's lame. I hadn't seen it for 20 years. I knew it was there. Never watched Brock fight. I never watched CM Punk fight. Why did nobody warn CM Punk what he was getting into? Of course he can't fight in the UFC. Of course he cannot do that. You should have been more honest. You should have warned that guy about what he was getting into. That man got mentally destroyed in the octagon. If you look at his WWE stuff, I never watched his WWE stuff, but if you look at it, you can already predict it beforehand. This man, oh boy, this man is going to have a bad experience in the UFC. Overeem continued by noting that the situation would have played out for Punk. He was going to win and fight someone tougher, or he would lose and eventually get hurt. So Punk lost his first pro MMA fight back in UFC 203 in Cleveland, Ohio against Mikey Gall via first submission. In his second bout, he lost to Mike Jackson by a decision at UFC 225. And Overeem then shifted to Lesnar after Ariel pointed out that Lesnar had run in WWE before going to UFC. And Overeem stated, quote, "Are you really going to stick up for that guy? Ariel, you're really having a little bit of a disconnect here," end quote. He was asked whether Lesnar was success in the UFC before he got sick with
diverticulitis.
Diverticulitis, okay. And then Overeem responded with, quote, pre-USADA, end quote. And then regarding Overeem's comments about USADA, which is the UFC anti-doping partner, he is claiming that Lesnar was suing PEDs that was the reason for his success. So Lesnar win at UFC 200 in 2016 over Mark Hunt was later overturned after he tested positive for hydroxychloroquine, which is not a steroid, but it's still banned a substance since it's used in coordination with the steroid cycle. And this marked the first and only time that Lesnar had fought while being tested by USADA. And Overeem beat Lesnar in UFC 141 in 2011, which led to Lesnar retiring from MMA for the first time and going back to WWE. All right, let's get right into it. Matt Michaels, I'm going to start with you. Man, Overeem, man, he says that you're lame, okay? It's all bad acting, okay? And he's sorry that you fans like that but it's horrible. What's your take to Alistair?
Who? Seriously, man.
He's a
Who?
pretty big UFC star, man. He's been a champion.
Great. Good for Alistair or whoever he is. First off, this motherfucker wants to talk about PEDs. Yeah, he's not doing PEDs. Right. Secondly, if you look up, just to give people a reminder here that yes, this is what Punk looked like in the UFC, right? But for something that's not even a sport, not even, fighting, Punk has looked the same way in a wrestling ring. So, whatever. This is just a waste of breath, even having this conversation. It's fucking stupid. And the reason I say it's stupid is because the guy couldn't have come up with any other words but lame 60 times in this fucking thing. So, if he thinks it's lame, great. It's bad acting. Wonderful. But you know what? You can't do it. So fuck you.
All right. Let's move right over to you. Sin City Steve. I mean, apparently
he doesn't listen to this, does he?
I hope
not. Who gives a shit if he doesn't? Fuck him.
You gonna be now you got
fuck him. He ain't gonna do shit. He ain't trying to make any of us famous.
I didn't say that, Alistair, for the record. Sin City. Where are you going this? You want to be against him or for him?
let me be the first one to say that Alistair Overeem, I did not say that he sucks. I am not talking shit about this guy.
There we go.
Because he could make me disappear. Anyway, now I again, being fact-based, I have to say this, and it kind of piggybacks off of something that you mentioned, Matt Michaels, and your point. Alistair Overeem is somebody that back in 2012 tested positive under USADA, and his testosterone to epitestosterone ratio in his failed urine test just so happened to be 14-1. Now,
oh my Lord.
To put that into perspective, the average male produces a T to E ratio of around 1-1. The World Anti-Doping Agency, WADA, uses a 4-1 standard for positive tests. And the NSAC uses a 6-1 as its cutoff, a number used by WADA up until 2006. Well, again,
so he's not taking eugenics. He's not taking eugenics.
Hey, being fact-based, I'm just putting out documented things.
Right.
And if the truth hurts, then the truth fucking hurts. Fact of the matter is that Alistair Overeem is definitely entitled to his opinion. He can say that wrestling is lame and is bad acting. He can say that all that he wants. But at the end of the day, again, he even mentioned it. Free country, right? Okay, yes, it is. That's definitely your opinion. Congratulations. You're voicing your opinion. And just like every other opinion that's out there, opinions are like assholes. Everyone's got one, and a lot of them stink. Yours does as well.
But apparently he's got 5 times the amount of assholes than anyone else.
Evidently, that's a lot of shit.
And shout out to you, Jade. I'm gonna have to throw your name out there too. You said fuck him, so he's gonna come after you too. He's got a long list of people. Okay, so Jade, you on that list. Simon Street on the list, and Matt Michaels on the list. And
I'm in the front of the fucking list. Fuck you times 12.
And possibly Sin City for stating facts. Sometimes that'll get you on the list too.
I'm just gonna sit there. I'm just gonna sit there and record the shit while he's just beating the shit out of all of you guys. And I'll just post it to the Vegas Badboyz Instagram and YouTube. And hopefully we can monetize it and make some fucking money on that shit.
Let me see if Chris want to be on that list. He says, so what he's saying was that Overeem was 14 times the man that I am. Crap. Okay.
No, that's a high percentage for a guy whose last name is Ovaries.
Oh, Lord.
Boy, yours gonna be real quick, man. It's gonna be boop, boop, and that's it. Just boop, boop, and that's it.
Do we live in the same city?
Boop, boop. All right. I hope not. He fights in the same city.
Oh, God.
All right.
I can't wait until the day comes that you are his door dasher.
We go pick you personally.
And he's gonna be like, wait a minute, didn't you say some shit on a podcast about me?
Man, when that happens, just drop the food and run as fast as you can. Don't even
fuck that. Throw the food at him and then run. Don't drop the food. Throw the shit at him and then run.
That's awesome. Oh man. All right. I already know what you're gonna say, Simon Street. But
no. I mean, other than starting off, I'm gonna start the conversation and end the conversation with the same line. Fuck them. Now, the in between is, I get where he's probably thinking with his limited brain capacity with this whole subject. I think it's awesome that he wanted to share. But think about it like this. When you look at UFC, there's not a lot of guys that are doing a hell of a lot much after 3, 4, 5 years of their career. So yeah, pro wrestling gives that ability for somebody to go in like a CM Punk, take some time off, come back, still be able to have a job. What are you going to be fucking doing? Because if you don't hit the fucking announce table, or you don't become part of the announce team like some of the great guys in UFC have, what the fuck are you doing? Do you see what I'm saying? So I get that you.
Hopefully he's not going into acting.
Well, hopefully he's not, because he obviously doesn't have it, because he'd just be lame. But the fact of the matter is not like he didn't even fucking think about it. Like, you over here hating on that shit, right? And it's lame. But these lame people still got jobs in their 40s and 50s. What the fuck are you going to be doing when you're 40 and you're fucking 50? Because if you're not brilliant enough, obviously by what you talked about in this article, you're not going to be fucking up at the front desk.
I'm sure he's
play by play. He's not. He's fucking not. We didn't even know who the fuck he was until today.
He's probably won enough matches to have money set for life.
No, I'm not talking about his financial game. I'm talking about him actually doing something. Do you see what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, I ain't worried about his ass. He ain't gonna try and make me famous by knocking my ass out.
Here's the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm.
If this guy was fucking smart, he would take a job with the WWE to face Brock Lesnar, since he beat him before.
Yep.
They tried to do that before with somebody else, and it didn't work out well.
Well,
what was it?
Well, that wasn't that the Saudi Arabia thing?
Yeah, the Saudi Arabia thing. What was his name again? He's more famous than your ass was.
What's his name? Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
See?
Yeah, the guy who trained for a little bit and then apparently
got injured or something.
I thought supposedly he was coming back again. I thought.
Are you guys talking about Cain Velasquez?
Cain Velasquez, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's more famous than Alistair, I think. And we forgot Cain's name.
Yeah.
But hey, by all means, Alice, if you want to knock me out and get famous, motherfucker, please. Because I'll be real quick to sue your ass. Get that money. I won't even try to fight you. I'll just go to sleep for extra 2 hours.
All right, man. Thank you guys for that. That is our 3 counts. And we appreciate everyone for chiming in and listening to our little entertainment for you there. Let's give our final thoughts for the week. Let's start off with you, Simon Street. What do you want to tell the good people out there?
Hi, everybody. Just continue to try and be safe out there. Take the time to, be good to yourself, be good to other people in the community, and, just try your best to be the best version of yourself you can be.
Yeah, I didn't start this show. I started off with wrestling talk, but I also wanted to let all the folks out there in Louisiana, especially there in the coastal area, that, your prayers are with us, our thoughts and all that. Man, we're recording this on Sunday and it was looking bad. The entire power was out in the entire city of New Orleans, and it's just getting hit. But good thing it seemed like those levees that they put billions of dollars into are holding up. So I hope that continues to do that. So we definitely thinking of you. Let me go over to you, Sin City. What you want to tell the good people out there?
Thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight. Thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing, doing all the great shit that you guys do. We do this show for you. So thank you. Also, special thank you to all the brave men and women serving this country on lands both foreign and domestic. This week has been very, very tumultuous week. So thank you for everything that you guys do. And a special thank you to the 13 that paid the supreme sacrifice this week in Afghanistan. Also, repsports.com. I know this is kind of weird to say right after that. But repsports.com, reppsports.com, promo code Vegas at checkout, save yourself 15%.
Awesome. All right, Matt Michaels giving you the final word. What do you want to tell people?
This show has been lame.
Word of the day, lame.
Lame.
It's spelled A-L-I-S-T-A-R. Is that how you spell lame? I think so.
Oh boy. Woo. I don't want to see the videos after you're mutilated.
Don't worry about it. I'm gonna get paid. Shit. Knock my ass out. I show up there with no teeth.
Get this man on Las Vegas Scoop while we're at it.
You know, that just reminded me. God, I forgot to also mention that for Wrestling Talk, but we'll throw it on social media. So for those that are still listening, next week we will not have a wrestling talk. We will. It's Labor Day weekend, so some of us will be take a little time off, but we will have some shows, some programs for those days that'll come on. So we still have something there for you, but we just wanted to let you know that as well. And then the following week, we will be back. So just a quick little programming note. All right. So with that, you all take care, and we will see you next time.